Hi, welcome. This is Kelly Gardner, your radiance coach from yourradiantsoul.com. I invite you to take a moment to find a comfortable position in the body. So that may mean a seated position, widening the base. The body may be asking to find a standing position or even a reclining position, but just allowing ourselves to physically settle our weight into the support of the ground or the furniture or the floor. And from that place of stable base, let's find some length in the spine, creating space in the body for the breath. So allowing the crown of the head to reach away from the tailbone, allowing the shoulders to drop back and down, and then tuning our attention into the natural expansion and the gentle contraction of the body with the breath. Finding that pulsation that happens with every breath, from one to the other, expansion to contraction. And as we're feeling into our breath, let's take just a moment to tune in to the physical body and open our awareness to recognizing where we may be rigid and where we may be soft. So now we're noticing this pulsation in the body from rigidity to softness. And then maybe just allowing the breath to mold what's happening in the body. Maybe the exhalation takes with it some of the rigidity and leaves behind more softness. And just remembering that the mind follows the body. After we've become aware of rigidity and softness in the physical body, and we may find that we're holding both in the body at the same time, let's draw our attention to the mind. Let's notice where we may find rigidity and softness in the mind. And in the mind, this pulsation between the two may happen more quickly. We may find that we pulsate more quickly. And as we find rigidity in the mind, let's come to recognize how that presents itself to us. Does our rigidity present as fear or as anxiety, fearful thoughts, worry, what ifs? Does rigidity in the mind present as irritability or anger or frustration? Thoughts of aversion, dislike, resistance? Or does our rigidity lead us into more of a victim mindset? Many times with a victim mindset, we find ourselves attached to how things were before or how we would prefer for them to be. Noticing that attachment is also a presentation of rigidity, our inability to let go, our resistance to let go. And in that rigidity, in that resistance, in that attachment, we're pulling ourselves away from adaptability. So noticing that as well. Are we telling ourselves stories of being a victim in our own lives? Are we clamping down, holding on to, attaching ourselves to something other than where we are right now? In that rigidity, in that contraction, we're taking ourselves out of adaptability. And just becoming aware of this. If we're noticing this, let's let go of judgment. We're just opening our awareness. Until we're aware, we cannot change it. We can't do anything about it. In transition, in times of transition, in times of hardship and difficulty, in times of change, the energy is often up and out. And that's where we find anxiety and anger, frustration and fear. And so just noticing if it feels like that's what's happening in our bodies and our minds. And let's draw our attention once again to the breath. So we've already noticed the natural expansion and contraction of the body with the breath. But as we notice the breath this time, let's find a different pulsation, the pulsation of this north-south pole in the body, this energetic pole that runs up and down our center. On the in-breath, we're drawing energy in, and on the out-breath, we're allowing energy to drop down. So for just a moment, let's focus on the exhalation. Let's see if we can completely and fully exhale, emptying to the very bottom of the breath. And when we get to the bottom of the breath, we're all the way down to the pelvic floor. And in that way, we're allowing energy to drop with the exhalation. We're grounding. We're finding the ground. That's honoring the downward flow of energy. In the world of yoga, we would call that apana vayu. And maybe it would be helpful in the exhalation to just sigh or to say, ah. That allows the nervous system, the mind, the body to all settle a little bit. So maybe just taking a big breath in and eyeing it out. Ah. Maybe twice more. Just allowing that downward flow to ground, to settle the energy. And one more big sigh or ah breath. Finding our true base. And from that South Pole, that base, this stable place at the root of our being, we can begin to find our center. In times of transition, we can feel thrown off center, that upward and outward energy pulls us off center. So feeling back into finding our own center. And from that grounded and then centered place, we can tap into the ease of adaptability. If we try to adapt without first being grounded and centered, we cannot sustain. will burn out. Our energy cannot sustain the adapting act. So exhaling ourselves into a grounded place, finding our center, breathing up and down, in and out, finding that pulsation of expansion and contraction, and allowing ourselves to soften out of rigidity. When we find this order, feeling grounded, finding our center, moving forward from there in adaptability. This is how we build our resilience. In nature, there is a natural order of things. The Sanskrit word for that is krama. But when we try to do things out of order, we pull ourselves away from our center, and we inefficiently use our energy. And in that way, we're not able to evolve. So just noticing this within ourselves, breathing into this awareness. And as we've begun to open our awareness, we can also begin to accept where we are. We can only move forward once we accept and recognize right where we are. So just taking a few more moments to breathe here, remembering that we can always draw ourselves back to our grounded center, using the breath, checking in with the body, coming out of rigidity into the softness of ease, building our own resilience and our own ability to adapt. Recognizing that we have all of this within us, and we can come back and tap into it at any time. Thanks for joining me. Sat Nam.